Okay, it is a Saturday session for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is flat right now. It had a rally and it fizzled out, trying to get back above the 20 period moving average. It's hovering right at the 20 period moving average, trying to break out here of the bull flag pattern, but stalling at it. See if we can get the breakout here by the end of the session or over the weekend. We have this bull flag forming at major support. Right here, you can see the resistance zone having turned now support. And our 50 period moving average is right there. That's this green line right here. We're bouncing off of that. Plus, we're hitting the rising trend. I told you that we're in the tightening of the Bollinger Bands right here. I told you something was going to happen. You'll move in one direction and then begin to move in the other when you see the tightening of the Bollinger Bands. And I think that's what we're likely going to see here with the bull flag pattern at Q support. I told you if this level breaks, you're breaking some very important support in that you're breaking horizontal support, you're breaking the 50 period moving average, you're breaking the rising trend line. Again, we're getting a breakout and a back test. I think you got a good shot of resuming the advance. Again, I believe that Bitcoin is going to continue to rise towards 150 to 175,000, and I'm leaning towards 175,000 area. That is where my Fibonacci extension levels are. That is where the upper channel of the rising channel here weekly time frame is. There's a lot of support. Now here, you'll note that we broke below 50 when we broke this level of support, and now we're getting back above it. Do you see we're getting back above that level? That was support. It was resistance. We're trying to get above it. Now we got to get above this trend line right here, the blue one, to break out of the bull flag. And again, we attempted to do it. We're kind of just stowing right at that level right there. So we'll see if we get a bigger pullback before we get a legitimate breakout, but we are attempting to do it. With this move above the 10 period moving average, I told you we were stalling. In my last update, we were stalling at the 10 period. We got above it. We moved above the 20 period, and right now we're right at that 20 period moving average after clearing it and pulling back. We're right at it here in the Saturday session. Look what happened to the RSI. It went from the negative region to the positive region. So if it can stay in the positive region, you get a breakout, you can go back and you can challenge the high here at 123,000 and resume the advance with a bull flag pattern. They pull back first to build momentum to break out, but if this low can hold and you can get a breakout either right here immediately or pull back and get it, then again, the advance can resume. I believe that Bitcoin is going to go parabolic likely for the next couple months, and I think that it could possibly peak in September or October around the 175,000 area, maybe a little bit lower, closer to the 150,000, maybe a little bit higher, 180, 185,000, certainly possible, depending on when we come into contact with my upper boundary channel line in the weekly time frame, as I've talked so much about. So the RSI back in positive territory, that's a positive thing. We're attempting a breakout here. That's a positive thing. The MACD is trying to firm up at the center line. We had this negative divergence with the peak over here from May 22nd to our peak here in July, and that's given us a sell-off on this pullback to the 50 period moving average and key support. If we can bounce here, the MACD firms back up, we can resume the advance. Not only are we bouncing off the 50, not only are we bouncing off the resistance zone over here, turn support zone now right here. We're not only bouncing off these levels, we're bouncing off the trend line that goes back to the April low when I called the very day of the bottom. Remember on April 7th when we had the bottom, the 8th and the 9th, I had several bottoming signals on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and I called a bottom on the 7th. We rallied up to new highs as I predicted. We had a pullback here. It was a more shallow pullback, about 12%. A breakout, we broke above that level. We broke out, and now we're back testing the resistance zone, the breakout, and now we're back testing as we saw close up a moment ago, hitting our 50 period, hitting horizontal support, hitting the rising trend line, and our 50 period moving average, a confluence of support here at this 112,000 area. We slightly breached 112,000, hit 11,900. This peak right here was 112,000. We hit 11,900 and we bounced. Either we pull back, test the trend line again, get a higher low, and then try to break out or try to break out. You break these levels of support, that's bearish. The bounce here, that's bullish. Notice our 100 period moving average and our cloud here acting as support. Our 100 period, we pull back towards it, but we didn't tag it here. and then we got the surge, and then we pull back again, not tagging it, but their 50-period moving average this time. Here we have breached the 50. Continue to hold above the 100 period. As long as we hold above the 100 period moving average, that's positive for Bitcoin. When Bitcoin's in an uptrend, it follows the 100 period moving average. It holds above it or tests it. Sometimes it tags it and moves slightly below it. Other times it holds just above it, as we're seeing right now. Bottom, we bounced up Bitcoin's average price right here, which why I called the bottom at 74,000 when everybody was saying, oh, we were going to crash and alt season was canceled. I told you, no, we're bottoming. Signals, several of them formed, triggering the very day of the bottom, and that's why I did call the bottom before the rally ever began. Back over here at the 200 period and over here at Bitcoin's average price, accumulated a position, ignoring short-term price fluctuations, holding that until we reach the upper channel line, move towards it anyways in the weekly time frame. I'm also a trader. Now that's a swing trade that I'm holding multiple months, ignoring short-term price fluctuations. I'm also play short-term moves currently, trading Bitcoin back and forth, and currently I'm trying to play this bull flag off of key support. Great place for stops because you got this confluence of support. And I'm doing two things. One is I'm just playing shorter term price moves, shorter term swing moves, and then the longer term swing move I think is going much higher. Doing that in a separate account. And I do that because, again, I do think Bitcoin's going higher, but I'm also a trader who trade Bitcoin back and forth. So with my shorter term swing move, my swing trade move here, I'm trying to play this bull flag at support, longer term, ignoring the short term price fluctuations and expecting a move towards 150, towards 175,000. I think that's going to happen in the next couple of months here. We could be there by September or October, or possibly by October. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel today. Most YouTube channels get sponsors. They have sponsors and try to sell you things. I don't want to do that. I get contacted all the time as other YouTube channels get contacted as well. And they want you to, they want to sponsor your videos. I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell you stuff that you don't need. You're here to look at the chart. You're here to look at my indicators. I don't want to waste my time trying to sell you something. Send you to some website that wants to sell you something. Just ask that you just step up to the plate and help out. Do what you can. Support the channel today. But I need to hear from you in order to make that work. Please follow the link below and consider making a donation today. Anything helps. Please consider helping out today. I thank you for your consideration for that, because it takes a lot of time and effort to do this. I'm just showing you stuff I look at every day. Now, quickly, we have, again, the breakout of the confluence of resistance. Resistance zone now becomes a confluence of support at our 50-period moving average. It may be this thing's not done yet. If we get a topping tail here in the form of a gravestone doji at this resistance, we may pull back at a higher low or even try to come back here a little bit deeper, as I've talked about. I think you got a good shot that maybe the correction is done here. I'm playing the support level, but I'm just telling you and warning you, again, we could come back deeper if it's not done yet. We need to get a breakout. So far, we've had a couple of failed attempts to break out. Maybe you pull back and you get a higher low and then you break out. Maybe you have to come back and try to test this low and go back into the support zone. That's why I talked about the 110,000 area. Again, if we have to come back and reach the trend line again, that's still possible. But as I've said, I think you got a pretty good shot of a bottom here at key support. You're hitting the rising trend line. You're hitting horizontal support. You're hitting our 50-period moving average. So I think we have, in all likelihood, bottomed. I do believe that we're going to resume the advance once we break out here and clear 123,000. But we may pull back to build momentum for that. If this low holds, then you can establish a higher low, again, likely testing the rising trend line, our 50-period moving average, testing this low by getting a higher low, certainly possible. But don't rule out coming back into this area, but you would be reaching the 50 period, you would be breaking the rising trend line if you did do that ever so slightly. My guess is we bottomed here, and again, if we do pull back, again, I think we build momentum to get the breakout of the bull flag. The move off of 74,000, I think, is primary wave one. I think that we have this 12% sell-off that is primary wave 2 in a complex corrective move. I think we're now in primary wave 3, and I think we have the first two waves likely completed, our first two intermediate waves, and I've marked these smaller minor waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to complete intermediate wave 1. I've marked this as a WXY complex correction. Just be a simple ABC, but it's a little choppy, again a little bit complex looking, so I've marked it as a WXY. It may or may not be done. I think you got a good shot that it's done as we bounce off key support. Again, the resistance zone turn support, the rising trend line, and our 50-period moving average in the daily time frame that I've talked about. We've had the death cross. Oftentimes when you get the death cross, the bottom happens or it's already happened. Here we got the death cross over here. The bottom here already happened. We got it bullish cross and back to bearish, and then the death cross, the bottom happened shortly thereafter. That's the way it often plays out with corrections. And so, like I said, my last couple of updates, this death cross very well could be marking this as a bottom or about to bottom, one or the other. I think you got a good shot, though, because you have a good confluence of support right here at this 112,000 area that I've talked about. We can get a legitimate breakout or pull back and get a higher low and get a legitimate breakout, then again, we'll be watching to see if we challenge the 123,000 high over here. We've had some very positive news. The president has now opened the door. He's opened the door for crypto to be in 401k plans. So this is a big, big positive for Bitcoin and crypto, and we're seeing Bitcoin get back above the 10-period moving average on the president signing this executive order. Very, very positive thing for Bitcoin. See if we get this breakout of the bull flag. We've got bull flag, breakout, bull flag. We'll see if we get a breakout of this one. Remember, Bitcoin has stalled in the weekly time frame at this trend line from the 2017 high. This is our linear scaling in the weekly time frame. Again, we broke above the trend line, the blue trend line, excluding the shadow, hitting the peak in 2021, hitting our highs in December and January here. We got above this level, but we stalled at the trend line here from 2017 to the high in the first 2021 peak. Got to be able to get above that level. I think we're pulling back to build momentum to be able to clear that level. I think we'll go to the trend line in the weekly time frame with our log scaling. This is our linear scaling. Most people look at the linear scaling. Very few look at the log scaling. Most people in crypto look at the linear scaling. Look at both. You get good information from both. And I'm a big technical person with my trading. Most people just look at the linear scaling, the daily and weekly, and a lot of people don't even look at weekly and monthly charts. As you can see, we're forming divergences. Now, again, get the bears telling us, oh no, the top is in, the top is in. These are the same people that told us back at 74,000, back at the bottom in April, down here when I call the very day of the bottom, that it was over for Bitcoin right here. And again, calling for a Bitcoin crash and telling us that alt season is canceled. And I told you, no, we're bottoming 74,000. I was right. Stalled at this trend line. Now the same people are back telling us it's over, it's over, it's over. And I don't think the divergences are done. I think we can buy a few more months on a Bitcoin. I'm looking at September and October as a possible timeline. But as you know, a number's not my target. A date is not my target. A trend line is my target in the weekly time frame. Not this one, but if we clear it, then I think we're likely headed to this upper channel line. I've talked about this channel line for a very long time. I told you, I think that this upper channel line, when we reach it, I think that's where the Bitcoin top is going to be. And I think that could be 175,000 or more. Now, if we reach it sooner rather than later, just go parabolic very rapidly, then we might be at lower levels, near 150,000. But it's in agreement with my Fibonacci extension numbers that I've talked to you about and shown you at great length and detail. Again, this is a confluence of resistance. Down here we had a confluence of support, just like we have a confluence of support right now with our bull flag, our smaller bull flag forming. And again, this is my Elliott wave count. I believe that we have 5 primary waves. 1, 2 are likely done here. I think we're in primary wave 3. We have our first 2 intermediate waves done of that. I think we'll get 5 intermediate waves, come up here, get 3, 4 primary wave 3 completing, primary wave 4 completing, as we have 1 and 2 already done, and then I think you get 5 and you slam into this trend line, and that's where I think the Bitcoin top is going to be. If we hit it sooner, it'll be at lower levels. If we go here, as I've marked right here for October, then we may go above 175,000, 180, 185, 190,000. Whenever we come in contact with this trend line, or at least attempt to come into contact with it, I think that's where the top is going to be for Bitcoin. When we get there, nobody's going to think it's a top. Herd is going to say, the rally is just getting started, and they're going to be calling for crazy targets. I don't believe that we're likely going to move above 200,000. I think we'll probably be somewhere under 200,000 with the top in this cycle. You're going to have, when we get up here, you're going to have people saying, 350,000, 500,000, 750,000. You're going to have people going, try to outdo each other. No, you're wrong. $1 million, 2 million, 3. And you got a lot of these experts and these whales for 1 million and 2 million and 3 million. I'm telling you, the whales are going to be selling into the rally. They're going to leave the herd and the moon boys holding the bag, and they're going to do what they always do. They're going to ride it all the way back down. And Bitcoin will likely, once we reach this level, 175, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, 75,000, give or take, Bitcoin is likely going to lose 80 or 90%. That's what Bitcoin does in bear markets. And the herd and the moon boys, they're going to ride it all the way back down because that's what they always do. Again, right now, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I believe we're headed up here towards the 175,000, maybe higher, 175,000 level or maybe higher. But once we get there, I'm going to get extremely bearish because I think we're going to be ushering in a bear market. The narrative right now is that Bitcoin's just going to keep going on into 2026 and 2027. We're going to have this massive bull run. History doesn't favor that. History favors that the bull run's going to be coming to a conclusion in the near future here. And all the whales promoting the hype and the experts, again, these people are going to be selling into the rally and leaving the herd, the retail investors, holding the bag. It always plays out that way. Always. We're also in the logs, with the log scaling, we're also selling at the trend line from these previous highs in 2021. The previous highs in 2021 pointing to the level where we just stalled at. Okay? You have resistance here in the log scaling. You have resistance with the linear scaling. If we can build momentum and clear this level, then again, the upper channel line then comes into play. See a parabolic rise very quickly, 2 or 3 months up into that level. And I think that's very, very possible. August, September, October. It goes on into November, December, towards the end of the year. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. Again, a date is not my target. A trend line is my target. Where we reach it or attempt to reach it, that's where I think the top is going to be. But again, the final phase, the blow off top with the first peak in 2021, the second peak, you got this parabolic rise. And that's why I've marked this pointing over here. That I think you could see something very similar to that here. Again, we do have the negative divergence carving out. My guess is it's not done. We may reach a new extreme, or we may see a new divergence develop here in the more recent price action. But my guess is that we are forming this massive, massive triple negative divergence here in the weekly time frame. And again, I think it's warning we're going to get a top. I just don't believe that it's done yet. And again, it looks like we're about to roll over. Well, we're about to roll over right here too. And again, we had that massive surge. So again, don't rule that out. Again, I do think divergences are forming, but my guess is that they're just not done yet. I think they could be done weekly in the monthly time frame in September or October. Support holds, again, and we clear the resistance levels I'm talking about, we can see a parabolic rise very quickly before we top out. Be aware that these divergences are developing. I had a guy tell me 2 days ago, no possible way Bitcoin's going to rise to 175,000, and I disagree. I don't think the bull run is over yet. I think it could come to a conclusion in a couple of months here. These are the same people that told us down when we were hitting the 50-week moving average down here, the confluence of support that I've talked about at great length and detail, hitting horizontal support. These are the same people that told us we were going to crash down here. Now they're doubling down on it. I think we're going to see a Bitcoin bear market. I just think we're going to complete the blow-off top, and I think we're in the final phase of the blow-off top right now. So again, I remain bullish. The pullback is likely done, and I believe that we are in the extended wave 3. Could mean that we're going parabolic towards the levels that I'm talking about. Meaning we're about to get intermediate wave 3. In primary wave 3, that's a very parabolic wave if it does in fact happen. Wave speculation, but I believe that we are in primary wave 3, which is an extended wave. I pointed out here with our weekly chart, back to the weekly chart again, how again we're bouncing up this level of support. The previous high is support over here. The peak of our bull flag right here, that has now become support. This has happened over and over through this advance. Again, right here, we had support at our 50-week moving average. This was the previous peak over here earlier in 2024. This became our support level right here at the April 2025 low. I called a bottom there, but he was telling us we were going to crash. Same thing back over here, the January high, we broke above it, we pulled back, we broke above it. That became support right here at the 50-week moving average. Same thing back over here. When we had the bottom, we had this peak, we pulled back, we broke out, and we went sideways, but it became support here and then here before the advance resumed, again at our 50-week moving average. I have the green line, the dark green line is the simple moving average, the lighter green line is the 50 EMA, marked how they've acted as support through this advance. As long as these levels hold up, and again, you continue to have the previous high acting as support, we can resume the advance and go to the levels I'm talking about. Well, the stochastics rolled over. The stochastic can remain at extremes for an extended period of time. So can indicators. If the histogram ticks back up, the MACD is not going to cross over. It may even surprise us and move to a new high. You just never know here. But again, divergences are developing. I just don't believe that they are done. And we have divergences in the monthly time frame, but the 10-month moving average, the momentum cloud, continue to act as support. The 10-month moving average, this red line here, we've violated it and then bounced, violated it and bounced. You take it out and stay below it, like over here, that's where we had bear market. We continue to be higher month after month after month, getting a move that looks similar to this over here, this over here. Again, my guess is it's not done, and I think we move to the 150 to 175,000 area, and maybe higher, as I've said, but we have divergences developing. Look at the RSI in the weekly time or in the monthly time frame. Again, it is forming a divergence. It was this divergence that I used to call the 2021 top, but I had other confirmation signals in the weekly time frame, in the daily time frame, other divergences completing. Again, I don't think it's done yet. I think that we're still forming this. I think we buy a little bit more time. Remember, you only get one bar in the monthly time frame, so we could drag out, this is the month of August. We can drag out into September or October and still go a little higher, completing this. It may not be done yet. Again, same thing with the stochastic. It may not be done yet. Look at over here. The stochastic, we went higher, but then it kind of flatlined and went sideways. We still went to new highs. So keep that in mind. I do think these divergences will eventually complete a conclusion to the bull market and usher in a bear market and give us a top. Just happen to believe that they are not done yet. You can see my indicators are forming negative divergences all over the place. I just don't think they're done. We have the MACD in the monthly time frame moving to a new high with the histogram forming a divergence. So there you have that. You can see the larger version of it right there. That divergence over here eventually allowed the MACD to roll over, but by the time the MACD rolled over, we already had a significant decline on Bitcoin. Remember, when Bitcoin peaked over here, it dropped 52% in a few months. Likely going to see the same thing once it peaks here. But look at the price oscillator. Look at the momentum oscillator. Look at these massive divergences that are forming. Now, again, I don't think they're done yet, but I think they're going to conclude here in the next couple of months. So just something to be aware of. I can reach my objective target level on that weekly chart with our upper channel line. I think I'm going to be proven correct about Bitcoin going higher, but then topping probably again under 200,000. I don't believe Bitcoin's going to move above 200,000. I think it'll come close, but I think it's going to move towards the Fibonacci levels that I've talked about, towards the upper channel line. But here again, if you look at time, it's in agreement with what I'm saying. And again, the previous bear markets over here in 2013 and 14, from that first low, we had a double bottom there. From that first low to the high, we had 152 bars, 164 days, or 1,064 days, pardon me. That's how long the bull market lasted, and then it ended at the bear market, and we dropped 80, 84%, 86% back over here. From the 2017 high down to the bear market low, sold off in 2018. From that low, the bull market top over here, in November of 2021, again, the same amount of bars, 152 bars, 1,064 days. So again, bull markets lasted the same amount of time. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen that way again. The previous bull market before these two was shorter. Maybe it's shorter, maybe it's a little bit longer, but it's a guideline, okay? And I'm just telling you that we've dropped 78% here from this low in 2022 to 152 weekly bars, takes you to October of 2025. Takes you to 1,064 days. That takes you to 2 months from right now. So again, the timeline that the bull markets tend to last would be in agreement with the bull market coming to a conclusion September, October, maybe a little bit longer, maybe November, December or something, but it would be in agreement with these previous bull market lifespans that lasted 152 weekly bars or 1,064 days. I think we're going to get this final phase of the blow off top, a parabolic move that's likely going to take us towards the 200,000 area. I don't think we're going to exceed it. I think it'll be about 175,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Again, a guideline of where I think we're going to top out at, and it's in agreement with Bitcoin getting the final phase of the blow off top in the next couple of months, next 2 or 3 months. I think we're going to be around the 150 to 175,000 area, and I'm leaning towards the 175,000 area because of the Fibonacci extension levels. Then I think Bitcoin will top and usher in a bear market. To usher in the bear market, it's going to start with a crash. That's what usually happens. 52% over here. Again, we had this crash move to kick it off. We had a crash move to kick it off. After these blow-off tops complete, I think you're going to see the same thing here. So again, could the bull market last longer than these previous bull markets did? Maybe. My guess is that we're likely going to see this come to a conclusion here in 2025 in the coming months, maybe next 2 or 3 months. Maybe it goes a little bit longer than October, a little bit shorter. I think you're going to see a top here in the next couple of months. Here it is early August. We could see in the next 2 months, we could see the final phase of the blow-off top complete. My amazing signals, again, we had a reversal bar at the bottom as we had a reversal bar at the top. There is no topping signal over here, so again, I don't think it's done yet. We're going flatlined with the trend as we have that bull flag, very similar to the bull flag that formed over here, flatlined. Topping signal over here. Here we got a topping signal back at the 2025 January top. Bottoming signal at the April bottom. As I warned about the bottoming signals that formed. Every day of the bottom, that's how I was able to call the bottom. No topping signal here. So again, I still believe we go higher. Bitcoin daily chart here. Again, Bitcoin had a rally here on Saturday, but it fizzled out. See how we close out Saturday and Sunday, but we're bouncing off the 50. We slightly violated the trend line right here, connecting that high, that high. Again, I've talked about the inverse head and shoulders pattern. And again, it measures also up towards the levels I'm talking about. The minimum objective target for it is not 175,000. It's under that, but it's just under that, just a little bit. So again, I think we have a breakout and a back test, and I think we're going to resume the advance. Bars going from blue to red. Again, they got to flip back to blue. They did back over here. When that happens, it will mark the correction is done, and likely, again, getting a breakout of the bull flag and resuming the advance. Got to see my signals begin to turn back to bullish here. Also, red bars, red line. We got to see these things flip back to blue if we're going to resume the advance. And again, we get a legitimate breakout of the bull flag pattern. We're likely going to see signals turn back to bullish. Same thing here, still red bars. I'll be watching to see if they begin to turn back to blue. If we pull back further, I'll be watching our recent low here at our confluence of support. Here we're flipping the cloud back to green, getting back above the upper boundary and flipping the cloud to green. Would be marking the correction is now over forming our bull flag. Again, a lot of signals are still bearish, but we're seeing the momentum line turn back to bullish here with this push higher. The positive news that Trump's going to allow 401k plans to be exposed to crypto. I got a red circle at the top marking the peak. Again, told you at that time that means we're either going to get a corrective move or a reversal. We had a bigger pullback than some of these smaller ones, but still not a reversal, just a pullback to Q support. I got another bottoming signal here, the green circle at the purple line. We took out the orange line. We bounced off the purple line. Now we're back above the orange line here. Bars are turning back to blue. Tell me we're either going up or sideways. Other signals have not yet turned bullish. But again, I programmed my own indicators. And I programmed this indicator to tell me when we're either going to get a reversal or a pullback or the likelihood of that. Mark the bottom, the day of the bottom, as so many of my indicators did. Mark the top over here and over here. Other times you get counter trends like here and here and here. It's made some pretty amazing calls. Again, got a bottoming signal. I gave you that one on June 22nd. One right here, but it only gave us a short-term pullback. Went higher. This one gave us a bigger pullback. Now we have this bottoming signal. So I think the bottom is likely in on Bitcoin. With our bull flag pattern, we may pull back, but I think this low is probably going to hold. They have a confluence of support there, and then I think the advance is going to resume. Again, we've had some momentum signals turn back to bullish, but trend signals are still bearish. Some are turning back to bullish, but we got to see everything turn back to bullish and get a breakout of the bull flag to resume the advance. And more of my signals that nailed the bottom, nailed the top. Here, on the top with a lower high over here. Nothing here so far. We may not get anything. I see the signals all begin to turn back to bullish. Again, some signals turning back to bullish, others not. Here we're getting some blue and some green a little bit. The trend is flatlined at the moment as we get this bull flag pattern setting up. Again, called a peak right there. I don't think that was the top. Again, nailed the bottom, nailed the peak over here and over here. Absolutely amazing signals. I don't think we've topped yet. Let's be watching for a breakout of the bull flag pattern.